presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week. What really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Come into the parlor, there's a welcome there for you.
Welcome to the Mayor's Parlor with Desmond McKenzie.
From 1 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, you'll now get more of your favorite vintage music.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Nationwide 90 FM will transform your Sunday into a musical time machine that will take you way back.
Come with me. Let's go back in time.
This magic moment.
Journey into yesteryear with Desmond McKenzie in the Mayor's Parlor.
I've got the music to jog your memory and make you smile.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best in vintage music.
Come into the Mayor's Parlor every Sunday between 1 and 6 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Me sing, every pressure on no more. You're illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not gonna get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you up with.
Good evening, Jamaica, and welcome to another edition of the A-Team Radio Show right here on Nationwide at 90 FM. You are listening to Damien Scarlett, and it's so good to be with you another Friday evening. It is Friday. It is the month end. It is a Champs weekend, and I know a lot of persons are perhaps by now you'll be in the stadium. Yeah, you're already in the stadium. You know how it goes on Champs Friday already. You represent your school and you're just out supporting and bringing the school vibe, school spirit, and all of that. And, you know, of course, I'm looking at the results, but I guess I say I'm hopeful. But, you know, it's good that we represent our schools, that we went to our alma mater. And I just want to say big up to the Kingston College team, because we have to represent every single time, right? But tonight is not about Champs, it's about our on-air study program, which is the A-Team Radio Show. And the students are going to be tuning in tomorrow to listen into what we have to say tonight. So last week we started with CXC Social Studies, and as promised, we'll be back with part 2. My special guest will be joining us a little later on, of course, Sean Phillips. Sean was here last week when we started to look at the first part of the syllabus, really just laying the foundation. What are some of the principles that students need to adhere to as they prepare to write their exams? Now, I want to say to us that the CXC Social Studies paper 2 and paper 1, of course, the timetable has been set, and if you are not aware, maybe you should write it down. Students, you need to also remember, because as you head closer to the examinations, it's important for you to note when your exams are. In the past, I've had the opportunity to invigilate exams at the CXC and the Cape level, and some students miss their examination dates, and it's very important for you to write that down. All right, so Wednesday, May 13, 2026, that is scheduled for paper 2, social studies, and that paper is scheduled for 2 hours and 40 minutes, right? 2 hours and 40 minutes for paper 2, and then on Wednesday, June the 3rd, students will sit the paper 1, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes, and those persons who are doing the paper 3-2, so general, of course, 1 hour and 10 minutes as well on June the 3rd. So you want to write down those 2 important dates for the social studies exam. Wednesday, May 13th, and that's in the morning, and Wednesday, June the 3rd for paper 1 in the afternoon. Of course, exams are 9 and 1 p.m. So last week we were talking about just an overview of what social studies entails, right? And one of the things we said that social studies is more than just a subject, and it prepares students for real life in society. It helps young people to become active, informed, and responsible citizens in the Caribbean. So we were looking at the role and the purpose, and to understand that as we look at how we are shaped as a society, that their individual roles become into introspect there that we have to take into consideration. So the subject is designed to give students knowledge about society and current issues, so you must be aware of what is happening in the country, right? That's why we talk about current affairs. Do you know what's happening in the news? This is a news station. Do you listen to the news? Do you read the news in the print media? And it also helps them to look at the whole matter of values and attitudes for positive social interaction. And one of the things Sean would have mentioned last week when he spoke about bringing back civics into the school program, helping students understand their role and what are some of the values and attitudes that they need to possess or demonstrate, I should say, as a citizen of this country. So this week, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be looking at the first part of the syllabus that really focuses on the family, right? So we want to talk about the changing roles in the Caribbean family. And, one of the things is that we're talking about the family. We have to define what the family is. So a family is a group of people related by blood, marriage, or adoption. And that's a basic definition, because maybe you could see that question coming on the examination paper in terms of defining the family. Now, family can also be nuclear. You talk about parents and children. It can also be extended, which includes relatives, or it's single parent. So you have the nuclear family, you have the extended family, and of course you have the single parent family as well. So those are some basic definitions that you would want to know as you approach this section of the syllabus. Now, within the classroom, sometimes you might have the teachers who will ask you these questions, like, who do you live with at home? So as you open the syllabus and they are exposed to the first component there, is that you give them an idea then when we talk about who comprises the family. So you don't want the students then to list the persons that they live with at home. It could be a mother, it could be a father, it could be a grandmother, it could be an aunt, uncle, you name it, right? And when you ask them now to reflect on the activities that they do at home and how they spend time with the family, helps to bring it into focus. So again, a family is a group of people related by blood, marriage, or adoption, living together or connected by strong bonds. So if you were to bring that back into a Jamaican focus or modern day focus, a child living with their mother and stepfather in Kingston, for example, is a part of a family. A child raised by grandparents in rural St. Elizabeth is also a part of a family. And as we mentioned, the different types of families. So the nuclear family, where we talk about mother and father and their children. So if you have a couple living in Portmore with 2 of their children, that would speak to the nuclear family. And as we talk about the extended family, it includes relatives such as grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. And again, from a Jamaican context, a household where you find that the grandmother lives there, the parents, and all the children are living together. And you find that sometimes that is common in the rural parishes, right? And we can just pick any parish sometimes. But if you look at Portland, St. Mary, you name it, sometimes when you look at the demographic of these parishes or some of these communities, you'll find a lot of extended family household there. And again, single parent family, one parent raising 1 or more children. And again, if you look within the society, you see that happening. A mother raising her children alone while working in, let's say, Montego Bay, or a father taking care of his children while the mother may be working overseas. So just painting the context for us to understand when we talk about the family, right? Now, there are other situations where households might not necessarily have a mother and a father, but the household is led by guardians. As you know, within the school system, we talk about parents and guardians. So guardian-led families, of course, are children being raised maybe by grandparents or other relatives, maybe due to migration, and you find that as well. So now that we have defined the family, because we're gonna connect with Sean in a bit, but not only do we want the students to understand these basic definitions, but to also to know the importance of the family, right? And the function. What is the function of the family? So we talk about socialization, and the part of that includes teaching values, ensuring that the children have manners. You know, we always say that manners carry you far away, right? So socialization becomes important. We talk about respecting your elders. We hear that when we're growing up. And not only socialization, but economic support. Family has to play that important role, providing food. To talk about the basic necessities of life, or the basic amenities that we want to have for the household. Providing food, shelter, and also education. And what is important as well, families must also provide emotional support. That means love for the children, right? Caring for them, protecting them. And we also will see as well, as we talk about family importance and family relevance, the cultural transmission. And what do I mean by the cultural transmission? We talk about passing down traditions like cooking Jamaican dishes or celebrating holidays. We see that coming together, the coming together of the family, strengthening the family, strengthening the family rather, and bonding with each other, getting to know each other better. So not only do we see the types of families, but within the family itself, how does the family function, right? And we talk about socialization, economic support, emotional support, and also the cultural transmission. But when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to be getting into the changing roles in the Caribbean family, and then we'll be connecting with Sean Phillips. And as we mentioned last week, of course, Sean is a teacher at the Danoon Park Technical High School as well as the Micah College, and he is going to be expounding some more on Section A of the Social Studies, CXC Social Studies syllabus. This is the A-Team Radio Show. We'll be right back after this.
You illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off the joke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Exciting news! The Design studio nationwide 90 FM just got a whole lot bigger. Join us this and every Saturday now from 1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential with personal growth strategies. Nourish your body and spirit with expert wellness tips. Don't miss out on the inspiration you need to live your best life. Tune in to the Design Studio this and every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and take the first step towards a more fulfilling you.
Make me sweat, make me harder.
Oh God, once again!
Sunday is a day for reflection and praise, so start it with Lutheran Ministries in Jamaica.
God, we know you're gonna bless us.
Listen to Nationwide 90 FM every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. for the Lutheran Hour. Brought to you by the Lutheran Ministries Jamaica, located at 33 Courtney Walsh Drive in Kingston. That's the Lutheran Hour, Sundays at 8:30 a.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media.
Visit or contact the Jamaican Lutheran Hour at 33 Courtney Walsh Drive, Kingston 10. WhatsApp or call 876-348-9085. Find us on Facebook at Jamaica Lutheran Hour or email lutheranh@gmail.com.
Me sing, bup, bup, bup. If you pressure who no more, you illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you not gonna get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you up.
Welcome back to our show. This is the A-Team Radio Show right here on Nationwide 90 FM. We're listening to Damon Scarlett, and we're continuing part 2 of our conversation with CXC Social Studies. Tonight we are looking at section A of the syllabus, where we're zoning in on the family specifically. And we started out by making a definition, or giving the definition of the family, looking at some of the functions there of the family as well. I noticed I mentioned about socialization, which is again the process by which individuals learn the values and the norms and acceptable behaviors of the society. And sometimes when you see how people behave, even children, you wonder what's happening in the household. But again, what the family teaches or ought to teach is to help children as they're being raised to have the respect for elders, as we mentioned, whether you're saying, teaching them to say good morning, good afternoon, and the whole matter of manners and discipline. And that's something, and them always say manners carry you far away, right? And also teaching right from wrong. So giving them exposure to how to make informed decisions. That's important, right? So within the Jamaican context of the household, again, that in many Jamaican homes, children are taught to greet adults politely and to show respect, especially in communities where manners are highly valued. And we spoke about that just now. So, and this helps people to fit into society, right? And to reduce this whole matter of the antisocial behavior, because if you're able to connect with each other, being polite, it's a pathway for us to navigate and to build good camaraderie amongst ourselves, right? And we become good citizens, because what we're doing from a very early age is to expose our children to these values, and then to help them to become good citizens within the country. Again, as you look at the whole matter of the economic support, looking at the basic needs that children need, that household need to have, providing the food, the shelter, the clothing, the education, right? And really and truly, as the family functions, we have to help the family to remain stable. So the stability becomes important. Children must attend school, giving them access to education so that we can aim is to reduce poverty within the household. So as we send them to school, it's not just that we just want them out of the house, but at the end of the day, their goal is to learn, to get the education, to help the family, build the family, and take the family out of the struggle that they may be in. One of the things that we have to be careful of, that we're not overlooking this important component which talks about protection and guidance, because the family is responsible for ensuring safety, security, and the proper development of its members. So that means that there has to be a safe home environment, right? Making the home safe for the child, shielding children from harm or negative influences, and that's important. I spoke about the fact that we need to teach them how to make good decisions, how they can determine right from wrong from a very early age, advising them on education and career choices and how to set boundaries as well. So you see, the family plays an important part in the development of the child, right? And I can't understand sometimes how persons don't see that kind of value in it. Children are, as we, if I'm going to use the biblical term, we say children are a gift, they're a heritage from the Lord, and so therefore we must value our children, and we must care for them as well. So part of guiding the family and your role as a parent, as a guardian, is to help children to avoid also negative peer pressure, such as gang involvement, and guardians need to ensure that they're on top of things, knowing what the child's school schedule is like, so that they are at home, they're doing their chores, but at the same time, of course, they are working towards improving their education. Now, as we look at the exam itself and the preparation, now one question as you are preparing for the CXC exam, for that section, you might see a question that talks about explaining the role of the family. Now, we'd have outlined the emotional support, the economic support. So as you approach that question to get your 2 marks or so, you could start by maybe picking socialization, for example. So this is where, as we said, that the child or the children learn the values and the acceptable behavior, such as respect and discipline, right? And we spoke about how we greet our elders, right? And how we carry ourselves in public, remaining respectful at all times. So that would be one area that you could mention in terms of getting the mark there, all right? Now, I said that we're going to talk about the changing roles of the family in the Caribbean. Now, over time, when we look at the roles of the family roles have changed significantly over time. And this is primarily because of certain factors. Now, these factors, you have to pay close attention to them. And I know within the classroom, teachers tend to zoning on a few of them, right? It could be the social factors, economic, and the cultural developments that we see that are taking place within a global sense. So families in the past were more seen to be traditional, and these were clearly defined roles. For example, men were usually seen as the main breadwinners in the sense that responsible for providing income, while women were mainly responsible for caring for the home and raising children. No, that's not the case. No, and I'm not saying that that's how it was intended to be. But when you look at the traditional family back then, now we see how the roles have changed. Women are playing a leading part within the household as well. And we are also seeing where they are providing the income, yes, nurturing and providing care for the child as well. But within the modern Caribbean society, especially in Jamaica, we see where things have become more flexible now. We see women more involved in the workforce, and they're acting both as caregivers and also breadwinners. I want to touch on that point. We're going to be connecting with Sean now, and we're going to expound on this a little bit more. But let me just take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll much more on this conversation as we talk about changes in the family roles in the Caribbean.
And you now go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off a joke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight. You puke, me look and say, book. If you pressure, you book. If you not no education.
things up before the first shovel hit the ground. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, man. Me I do a renovation, you see. And my auntie's a returning resident. She ready to start her dream house.
Then call Serlin.
Then tell me something. Then really monitor the site, tradesmen and contract for me?
Yes, man. Independent clerk of works, keeping contractors in line with drawings, standards, and quality. No shortcuts.
That sound like a real piece of mind.
Call Serlin. 876-276-0276.
Serlin. We design, build, and manage projects.
Attention contractors, developers, and homeowners. Glacier White Corian Solid Surface is now at a special price. While stocks last, choose Corian for your commercial and residential projects. You won't regret it. It's durable, beautiful, and long-lasting. No sealing necessary. Corian is the #1 solid surface in the world. Second to none. Visit Home International Limited at 104 Constant Spring Road. Telephone 876-755-1970 or 876-276-6448. Open Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
This station raised me. It gave me a voice. And if Nationwide has ever meant something to you, come on in. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Turn up the heat with Hot Listing, Nationwide 90 FM's new on-air and online classifieds feature. If you have a car for sale, room for rent, or yard sale come up. If you look at work or need stuff. If you provide a service, make it a Hot Listing, Nationwide 90 FM's new on-air and online classified segment. Your listing plays again and again. From morning till evening. You sing it, we play it. You say it once, Jamaica hears it all day, every hour. Contact our sales team now at 876-630-1210 or sales at nationwidenewsnetwork.com. Hot Listings on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media. Nationwide 90 FM is taking you outside for an unforgettable experience at the Sip and See Wealth Summit. Join us Saturday, March 28, 2026 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. live from Richmond, St. Anne as we bring you exclusive coverage of this premier event. From 1 to 3 p.m., it's Design Studio with Karen Booker, showcasing style, creativity, and inspiration. Then from 3 to 5 p.m., Pepita Little takes you outside with Pepita, capturing the energy, insights, and excitement from the Wealth Summit.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
It's all happening live on Nationwide 90 FM and streaming on YouTube Live, giving you the chance to sip, see, and succeed with the nation's leading voices in wealth and empowerment. And remember, this special outside broadcast is sponsored by Stella Global Realty. Brilliance in every move, strategy for every legacy, and the National Land Agency. One agency, one goal. Proud partner in building Jamaica's future. So mark your calendars, Saturday, March 28th. Richmond, St. Anne, 1 to 5 p.m. Nationwide 90 FM brings the Wealth Summit to you.
The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week. What really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Me sing, if you pressure who no more, you illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you not gonna get no work, and your teeth like a puss, send me granny with a purse, I eat your waffle choke.
Welcome back to the show. We're in the second half of the program. Tonight we're talking about social studies. Yes, part 2 had our conversation last week, part 1, with Sean, and we're continuing this week. And just before the break, I was mentioning the changing roles of the family within the Caribbean, and that's important for us to discuss, because not only do we talk about it in social studies, but we see it happening in real life, right? So we mentioned then traditionally where we say that men were expected to provide for the family financially, while women stayed at home to care for children. I want to expound on that some more as we touch on this part of the syllabus. I mentioned, of course, that Sean, as we look at social studies, it's like it's a part of who we are.
It is.
Right.
Current affairs.
Current affairs. Yeah. So let's jump in there as we look at this whole matter of the changing family roles in the Caribbean. What else you want to touch on?
All right. So in terms of the changing roles now, traditionally we have our males being the breadwinners for families.
Yeah.
In recent times that has changed. Back then the females, they would just stay home, take care of the children and all of that. But to today's day, present now, we have our females now earning more than our males, and with that said, they are now becoming the breadwinners of the family. And this doesn't sit well with a lot of male, but it's just the reality.
Yeah.
So given that it is the reality now, we need to know what's going on and how we can then cope with this.
Right.
So some of the reasons why we have a change in roles now is because of one, females now are going to school. Also, they're getting the jobs that they would actually want. They're getting the roles that are dominant that males usually get. I was telling my students in the week that females now are the chairman of boards.
Yeah.
The president, prime ministers, executive leaders. So with that said now, there's a change in the demand of the roles within the household now, whereas males are now doing more chores such as cooking, cleaning, and all of that stuff. So with that said now, when there's a change in role, it has some conflicts. It has some major effects.
Yeah, but as I listen to you now, then it makes me wonder, are we doing enough to get our boys focused and staying in school? I don't know. Don't quote me on it. I don't have the stats now, but I know growing up, I've always been hearing that boys don't like to read.
That's what I heard as well.
Yeah,
but I love to read.
Yeah.
But what I think is the I would say the reason why many males are not going to school is it is not attractive. We are seen as providers, so we would want to be onto something that is going to be beneficial to not only us, but our family, that can benefit our family. The females now would actually do the long haul, whereas they study and they like to read. You understand? So with that said now, we tend to see that there is a shift indeed given the roles, because what's going on now is not really attractive to the males. You don't have a lot of hands-on jobs right now. Everything is a lot of technology and fast paced. So with that said, the shift is really happening right now, and with that shift then breeds a lot of effects that really affects the family, such as conflict. You have like identity crisis and so forth. So with that said, given that social studies is current affairs, if this should happen to your family or a student's family in the future, they will know how to deal with it, given that they will be studying this from now.
Yeah. And a part of that too, as we look into the household, is that yes, we see women taking more of the dominant role, but at the same time, we can't negate the fact that men are more involved in household and house care, just the care of the household. Sometimes we don't highlight that, but they are men, they are fathers as well, who are actively involved in the life of the children.
Yes.
And sometimes you wonder if if they're the only single parent, the only
because they
parent
want
there.
to.
Right.
They want to, like me. I love to
Mhm.
cook. I love to clean.
Right.
You know, always
Well,
cleaning.
you're a father.
Yeah, I'm a father as well.
Right.
Always cleaning. So
Mhm.
with that said, you know, males do like to take up that role, but it is not dominant. It is not the norm. And given
Right.
that it is not the norm, then no, we'll have to know as a
Mhm.
social scientist, study the switch, study
Right.
that shift.
Mhm. But another major change, not only in the general family, but you talk about, let's go back to the single parent, as you mentioned just now, that in the past, nuclear families were more common.
Common, yeah.
Right? But now today we see that there are many households that consist of the one parent raising
household,
the
yeah.
child, and that is due to factors. Maybe the relation, because I touched on that earlier on,
Yeah.
in terms of some of the factors, whether
Yeah.
it's socio-economic factors or
That's it,
so, the breakdown in the relationship between both parents.
What I can add is that
Mhm.
that can also be due to culture as well, because
I talked to me about that.
back then, or I would say colonizers,
Mhm.
they didn't facilitate or African descendants to have families. You understand? The males were seen as breeders. So with that said, no, we didn't solely stay with one female, you know, because we would have several wives or several mother of a child.
You touch on a point there, because there are some people in the society today who just say, well, just want to bring my you on my road.
Definitely.
And that's it. And them just want to know, so them contribute to. And it's interesting because there's another, let's not even touch on that conversation about the birth rate right now. But some people just want to just prove to a point that you can have a youth. But are you really taking care of that person?
And as I stated earlier, that is stemming from culture, whereas, you know, that has been taught.
Right.
You know, you see your great-great-grandfather do it. Many of our great-great-grandfathers, you know, have a lot of children, you know, with several females. So
Yeah.
with that said, no, that's where it's coming from, and the whole thing of get a youth and all of that. So that's where a lot of the breakdown happen now within families, where we have so many social issues of late, because there is not a structured household, whereas there's stability and also protection and socialization.
I want to acknowledge our YouTubers here, because the chat is going very well. I see Donovan Phillips, Paul Peart there, and I see, is that Rambo the Mango? And there's some conversation.
What Rambo saying?
No, they're saying, you know, because well, Rambo is in London and he's listening in. But Donovan is saying that Jamaicans are having less nuclear families, not many kids growing up knowing their grandparents. And he's making the point that he cooks, clean, babysits, drop off and pick up his older daughter from school, and then every Saturday morning carries her to swimming classes.
That's a solid meal, a solid father.
Yeah. So we need more of these things happening, more of these individuals, fathers, man them, that take more care and responsibility for the child.
Yeah, because what I see is that that's not being highlighted as much as it should be. And touching on the same topic again, Father's Day is not really celebrated as much.
Right.
So with that said, if you don't have a society where, as you know, being a good father is encouraged or influenced or seen in a positive light, then it won't happen. What is seen in a positive light is the get a youth.
Right.
You're not getting a youth yet. Gelding Chuck is
that
more
concept,
of
that concept. Yeah, you know, and as you mentioned that too, because we're gonna go back to the discussion. But as you said that earlier on my way here, I was looking at one of my fellow co-workers, Tana. I was having a conversation with her. She posted a video, and I think it's a video that's going around on social media. And you know, the video was showing how a police officer, seemed to be in Jamaica, a police officer was lining up some youth.
I saw it. I think they were saying I must stay in school, or I must go home
after school.
I must
so you had them line up and you know, like a real soldier. And we were just talking. I was commenting on it, and I was like, we need. Tana made a point. when in the conversation that we need more men like the police officers who can be like this kind of a father figure.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not just, and I think as Donovan mentioned it there, that lunch money is not fathering a child.
No. Not,
right?
Not only providing, but being there as a guidance. Because what I realize is that, I have a young son, and he observes, and his mommy would actually say he does a lot of things that I do, the same demeanor. So they observe what an immediate male that's a part of their life does. You understand? So with that said, you help to now shape them, because they can't really learn how to be a mom, a man from mommy. I must add that.
So again, we're discussing, if you're just joining us, we're looking at CXC Social Studies. Tonight we're really just giving you a more in-depth into the syllabus itself, like one of the lessons that are normally taught within the classroom. Now, choice of employment, we've been talking about that. Is important. Both men and women capture, or can pursue rather, a wider variety of careers.
Yes.
But one of the things is that the economy, there are a lot of economic demands that are there, Sean, that often require dual income household. Sometimes the one income not cut it at all, but how can men, though, as we talk about employment, take on additional roles that can generate income? Because outside of the career, and there's a place for even us as we grow up to have a skill. And I think that might be something that is beneficial and can be helpful as well.
It is. And I do think males, we are the ones that should extend ourselves. We are the providers. So in terms of improving the income within the family, you could actually take up a skill. Heart has a numerous amount of skills training courses. So with that said, you can find something that you'll actually like plumbing. I'm into plumbing, electrical. I went to a technical school, so I liked electrical. So it's more of getting involved in that area, whereas you can do some Saturday and Sunday, or even after work, you can facilitate some side hustles that they would actually call them. And then eventually you can open like a company or a business, whereas you can employ males just like yourself in an effort to develop them and also help them to secure income to take care of their family.
Now, as you talk about taking care of the family, there are some, that's a causing effects that contributes to even the changing roles that we find in families as well. The choice of employment might be one of them, but there are perhaps this societal pressure that is also there, in the sense that society is now placing more emphasis on equality and fairness. How do you break that down to help a student to understand that in the classroom, understanding the sense of how can they approach it?
All right, so to get a student to understand that society now is actually changing and moving towards equality is very vital, because back then our culture, still touching on culture, is not the norm. So it is important to them to connect the dot now to see what's happening now. Why is there a push for this now versus back then? Because many of them are from households that don't have the whole equality. Many of them will see their brothers going out now, to the party, going out on a weekend, and them maybe as a female would have to stay home and do the cooking and the washing and all of that. They'll see their brother just in the living room being lousy, relaxing.
You need to do some work, man.
So it's about bridging the gap now to show them now that, hey, in today's society, it's a requirement from males now to do this. Equality is now enforced.
All right, hold that point for us. Let's go to the break. When we come back, much more on the A-Team Radio Show. We're looking at CXC Social Studies. We're talking about the family.
Work and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse. I eat you off the choke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight. You puke, we look and say.
From the biggest tracks to the biggest energy, Nationwide keeps it moving. If you love the vibes, come and lock in with us for real.
World boss, leave a prison could stop me.
Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Practice. God me say you watch you over me practice.
Big savings are here. Interex Distributors' massive yard sale on all tiles, ceramic, porcelain, borders, inserts, and more. Thursday, March 26th through Saturday, March 28th, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Final blowout tile sale, Sunday, March 29th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. 591 Spanish Town Road for unbeatable, unbelievable, and unforgettable deals. Call 876-501-2516, 876-550-5689. Interex Distributors. Don't walk, run to the yard sale.
Having trouble with termites? Problems with ants, wasps, or rodents? Then contact Alson Pest Control Services today. They cater to all your general pest control and inspection needs, servicing island-wide from residential to commercial spaces. They've got you covered. For more information, call 876-338-6056 or email alson.pest@gmail.com. Alson, the pest control experts you can trust.
Me sing, buck, buck, buck. Every pressure on no buck. You illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not gonna get no work, and you deep like a puss. Send me granny with a purse.
Welcome back to our show. This is the A-Team Radio Show. If you're just tuning in for the very first time and you're wondering what's happening on Nationwide, this is the Friday night program where we give our students all the necessary tips, lessons, principles that they need to ace their examination. And my guest tonight, a very well-rounded and knowledgeable educator, I must say. I know teacher just sound lame. As an educator, right?
Educator.
Big up to all of the teachers who, after a hard week of teaching and giving the principles to the students, and even to come back here on a Friday night, we appreciate that. So if you're wondering who I'm talking with tonight, I'm Sean Phillips. He's a co-founder of Tutor Tech JA, a company focused on helping students to prepare for their CSEC and CAPE examination. He is the head of department at the Dunoon Park Technical High School. I have to keep on saying that. I remember it, right? The park. Right. But I know one of the things that you want to touch on, Sean, as we look at the causing effects, is this whole matter of conflict. Talk to us about that.
All right. So whenever there's a shift in what was the norm, there'll have to be some amount of conflict.
Okay.
So previously, back then where we had a lot of families, as we'll actually say nuclear families, with the husband now being the breadwinner, given the fact that we have a choice in employment and now females having access to education now, the female now becomes the breadwinner because she's pulling in a lot more. So previously, the female would be the ones to wash the dishes, cook, clean, and all of that. You know, the male coming because he's tired, always working hard, and meals is provided for him, and him clothes washed and all of that. So with the shift, with that change now, whereas it is the female now working as well, the whole equality, whereas, you know, you can wash the plate too. You know, you can clean.
So there needs to be now shared responsibilities in the household.
So then now, but before the shared responsibility come, is realizing that there needs to be a shared responsibility. Because the male now, once you're used to, you come home and your dinner there in front of you, and your clothes wash, and you now have to do the dishes. Imagine now your wife or your lady are going to tell you, say, you know, I am tired as well. I'm even working more than you.
Okay.
I'm having...
So those are the things that cause a conflict.
Those are the things that cause a conflict, because she's going to let you know that, you know, I'm also paying bills in the house, contributing even more than you are, or the same. So I think that, you know, we should have shared responsibilities now. You can clean up now, you can cook now, you can wash now. With that said now, the shift now, because the norm is now changing, that can cause conflict. And many males don't appreciate change. They don't embrace change, especially if they were cultured in a way to be dominant, even when there's a need for functionality. There's a need for the change. Because if my lady now wants rest, it is essential now for me to facilitate the rest because she's hardworking as well. But many males wouldn't see it that way. On a Sunday, if she is that tired because she had a hectic week and an hectic Saturday, and she would have asked me now to cook, or I see the need to cook, then it's a given. However, many males aren't cultured like that. So the whole identity crisis now comes in, whereas this is where you'll see a lot of domestic abuse happening, the fights because of the constant back and forth arguments that they'll have. So with that said, we have conflict, we have identity crisis, which is all coupled with the abuse, whether it is verbally or physically. So with that said, in an effort now to alleviate that now, what could happen is they could have a mediator, they could speak to a counselor or a therapist or even a pastor. Whereas both parties now can sit down and understand each other's point of view, where they can meet each other in the middle, so that there's no greater conflict in the future. And what I do believe is that whenever people have any form of understanding, when two people click together, things work beautifully.
So we're now going on along the lines of communication.
Communication.
So coupled with the identity crisis and understanding the shared responsibilities is the need for communication. Because once there's breakdown in communication, that will also lead to the conflict.
That will lead to the conflict. And then now, to me, it is necessary to have a mediator. Because if two people don't share the same view, as much as though they would want to communicate, the communication is not going to happen. There's always going to be a barrier because of one, the culture. The male will never ever see it from the point of view of the female, whereas the change is necessary. So to have somebody there to shed some light, whenever I tell my students that they do it from time to time, whereas they'll ask somebody for just listening, especially if it's a big group, you'll say, Sam, you were really going with me, Andre. What you think? You think me wrong or you think he's wrong? You understand? Even as virgins, you'll actually do it. You say, sir, this is my bro and me never expect him to ask her, and then somebody else gonna say, boy, I never look upon it like that, but this is how, because you are of a different point of view. So with that said now, having a counselor, your pastor, somebody in the family now to sit down and say, all right, this is the case now, you have some shaping up to do, to let this work. These are the steps that you'll have to take to make this work. So, the whole communication and guidance, is essential, to minimize the conflict, minimize the whole identity crisis that happens within the whole.
Talk to me about the fact that some men may feel marginalized in the home. They feel less valued when you talk about the family structure itself, because we do know that those are some of the things that can affect we talk about a man's ego, but it's in the sense of the self-esteem then, right, and participation in family life. Because if he feels away, he's going to more secluded himself and not want to be a part of the family life.
So with that said, it then boils back down to identity crisis now, because he is being cultured to be dominant, hold that dominant role now in the household, in society. When he's being marginalized now, he'll have to take a step back. And with taking a step back now, it can also cause an impact on even his son, because then now he's observing. So he now will maybe think that, the female now should be the head of the household, because he's not seeing his father being represented in that light. So with that said, now that can cause a ripple effect in the home, whereas it will be seen as the female now alone having talk daddy, I say, or anything mommy say, work with it.
Yes.
When it, in the society that we were bred in, it is the other way around, whereas it is the father now that leads,
Right.
and the female supports him in decisions and all of that, because they have the notion that males make a lot of logical thinking or logical responses versus a female now making decisions based off emotions. So with that said, if the young son is always observing that whenever mommy upset, she gets her way and all of that, he's been cultured in that regards. So with that said now, that is where the whole male marginalization comes in place now, whereas there's a step back in the male gender and then there's a push forward. So we're eliminating equality now.
Yeah, as you touched that, I see one of our YouTubers saying that, he says that he took paternity time off from work to care for his little baby girl who's 2 months old. Good job to you,
Good job.
Donovan. We love to see that.
Donovan is the one that lives overseas?
I think so. I think so. Yes.
Many males in Jamaica.
Yeah.
That's not the culture.
Yeah.
You understand? They rather to provide and ensure that the lady, get everything that she actually needs and all of that. But to stay home and raise a child and be there, pee clock is not often you have many.
Yeah, but we do know that through some of the new what should I say now? I don't want to say rules, but in terms of how the government is bringing in some new laws as it relates to fathers getting the paternity leave, and so ensuring that they take that and to spend that time to bond with the child,
because it is essential. Because when you have a father in the household, it's oftentimes different. Mind you, the father can still be in the household and things happen, but it's minimal because the guidance is there. So having the father now a part of the household, it helps to minimize crime and violence. It helps now to minimize poverty. It helps now to minimize a lot of the social issues that happens now, because you have that protector, that guider, that disciplinarian now within the household now to help to curb the negative behaviors. So rarely you'll find children from a two-parent household, really struggling if the father and the mother is playing the role. Those children are, I would say, in the school environment, those students oftentimes perform better because one, they don't worry really if they can't afford something, because if mommy can't do it, daddy can't do it. They don't really worry about being hungry. They don't have the same fire that a student or a child from a single parent would have, because a youth now from a single parent family would say, in quote unquote Jamaican terms, me have to do it for mommy.
Yeah.
When a youth or a student from a nuclear family is doing it, he's really doing it for himself. So he has the resources to pull it off and the focus now to do it for himself, versus a youth who have to make it for mommy. We have to do this for daddy, is a different thing. So having both parents within the household now really strengthens that child. It's very essential.
We're almost out of time here, but one of the things I want maybe to get an understanding from you, as an educator within the classroom, as you even teach on this topic, there might be some lived realities of students that even as they think about it, they're like, oh wait, I'm currently going through that because maybe I'm from a single parent family.
Definitely.
Right? Mommy is there, but daddy is not there. Or it might be the flip. Daddy is there, but mommy is not there.
A lot of daddy is there, mommy is not there too.
So have you even seen that? And how, from a teacher, father perspective, how do you help them?
All right.
About a minute or so.
So reasoning with your students and being one-on-one with them is very essential. You know, you can't be a robot because, as you say, there's a lot of realities and things are happening now in today's society that wasn't happening before. So what I tend to do is to highlight to them that you would be experiencing the challenges, or you are seeing somebody that you know experience same challenge in a single parent family. Why not use the cons to assess and then now ensure that this is not your reality in the future? So with that said, having them doing their research, analyzing what's going on, they can now make sound decisions in the future. And that's what social studies are all about. When you study society, something as simple as the family, you know when you have your family, you know can dictate the roles and the responsibility, how you would actually want your family to structure. Because having the intention based on the fact that you would have studied the negative now of a single parent family, you know push now to have a nuclear family given its benefits. And that now comes with the subject when you study.
Well, thank you for that. I'm out of time here, Sean, out of time, listeners. Donovan says that he's living in Clarendon. Right? And he says that we're absolutely correct because his daughter is a straight A student at the Mineral Heights Primary and also on the principal's honor roll. Congratulations. And thank you for the work that you're doing in your daughter's life, Donovan, there in Clarendon. That's where we're going to have to leave it for this part of social studies. The next time when Sean comes back, he's going to be doing Caribbean studies. And I want to say, although the family rules have changed over time, the family continues to play a vital role in providing support, guidance, and stability in society. So continue to build healthy families. I'm Damon Scarlett tuning out. I want to say thank you to Sean Phillips again, my guest, and also our technical operator, Andrew Anderson. Until next week when we do it all over again, have a good night and a great weekend.
The bench and no chair. School lads just wave on no hands in the air. You know a rectangle depend from a square. Pronounce your words them loud and clear. Textbook now have no dog ears and them no tear.
Nationwide 90 FM is taking you outside for an unforgettable experience at the Sip and See Wealth Summit. Join us this Saturday